Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast as we recap the week that was on Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 11:30 on CHCH, CHCH.com, and streaming live on our Trending Now YouTube page. A very busy show, as it has been a busy, busy week. So let's jump right into it. With Emily Tayler, she is producing Trending Now this week. And Emily, first show of 2025. Here we are, a couple weeks into it, but we've done it. We've made it.
We got there.
We got there.
Yeah.
And sometimes when these weeks are flying at you fast and furious, especially around inauguration time. We can remember 4 years ago and 4 years before that. You got confirmation hearings. We had the wildfires. We had all these things happening. And then huge news out of the Middle East this week, ceasefire.
Yes.
We've been talking, obviously, about Israel-Hamas, Israel-Palestine, basically since before October 7th, of course, that tragic day. Huge news this week.
Yeah, no, this is what we've been waiting for 15 months, and there was some idea that it might happen in this intermittent period between Biden and Trump, but I wasn't expecting it. I mean, there's been a lot of other times that ceasefire talks have been going really well, and then the last second nothing happens. So I wasn't expecting it to come out this week, but here we are.
Even this deal was one that was pretty similar to the one that they had agreed upon back in May, I believe.
Yeah.
Why? Trump's taking credit, obviously.
Obviously.
You saw Biden with Anthony Blinken and Kamala Harris, like right beside him. This is a huge accomplishment for this administration. But you're still going to have Trump, who's going to take credit for it. How is it? Is there some credit going to Trump at all from what we've heard, or is this a deal that Biden and the Biden administration worked out, which is factually correct, that they're going to take credit for?
I don't think that there is no influence from Trump on this deal. I think that the fact that he is coming into office on Monday is scaring a lot of international players. I do mean scaring, because literally he said he's going to come in and there'll be no war. So he's going to end all the wars. So I think that Ukraine is shaking their boots currently, waiting for what's going to happen in terms of aid. Yeah. And then where he falls in like Israel-Hamas, is not entirely clear. Obviously, the U.S. is Israel's biggest ally, but would Trump have funded it a whole lot more? Not entirely clear. There's some Johnson, Speaker of the House, said he would. Doesn't matter. Now it's all over. I think that people were rushing to get this done sort of before he came in office. I think that's a fair point.
I think especially the Biden people trying to they can hang their hat on the ceasefire, regardless of whether Trump is going to take the credit. I saw some numbers that, Trump is very, very much more popular than he was when he came in office in 2017, obviously, because he won an election after he lost an election. And we're starting to see his picks have some confirmation hearings. Pete Hegseth, one of them. This was totally expected to be a contentious hearing. We know that Pete Hegseth, we know the allegations against Pete Hegseth that we've heard, drinking on the job, sexual assault complaint that was worked out through an NDA. I'm trying to be careful with my words here.
You're right. No, that's correct. It was a financial settlement, not a criminal charge.
Yes. But Pete Hegseth, it looks like he's going to go through, despite the fact that he was pretty evasive in his answers on Monday. Yeah,
I think that's a fair characterization of it. I don't think that there'll be anyone who doesn't make it through because Matt Gaetz isn't running anymore. That was the one that everyone's like, I don't know about that one. But usually you don't even go to these confirmation hearings if you don't have a good idea of getting through. And the numbers are in his favor, frankly. Yeah. It's pretty close in the Senate. He can only lose 3 votes for the Republicans, but if Republicans stay united, he's totally fine. If he loses 3 votes, he has a Republican Senate leader who will just tie break and he will be fine. So odds are in his favor, even though, some interesting answers.
Yeah, and Joni Ernst, of Iowa, the senator from Iowa, she is a past military person. She's a woman who served, so there were comments that Pete Hegseth had made relatively recently about women serving, and she was sexually assaulted while in the military, 2 things that they thought were going to be big issues for her. She came out after after this confirmation hearing and said, "I'm a yes." Like, there's no question.
Yeah.
So, and then you mentioned the three. There are three, or Lisa Murkowski might, Chuck McConnell, or Mitch McConnell, maybe Susan Collins, but this was going to be the tough one. Maybe Cash Patel and the FBI might be tough too. But what did you make of the hearings? Like, Democrats had to be ready. They came with their questions.
They did.
What'd you make of the Democrat line of attack, which we're going to be hearing a lot over the next 4 years?
Yeah, I think these are fair criticisms, but frankly, in the same way that they were attacking Trump for similar things, like similar allegations, not as much drinking on the job, more so the sexual misconduct, though his has been proven in court. But we already know who he is. Trump knows who he is. That's why he picked him. The public is learning who he is, but this very much falls along the line of the people that Trump is picking. Yeah. He is a yes man, which is most important to Trump, and he is, at least from the way that he spoke in his hearing and the impression that I got, is that he falls very much in line of the kind of person that I think that Trump would pick.
For a job like that.
For a job like that. So I'm not surprised, and I don't think that these allegations matter in the Trump cabinet to Republicans and to Trump.
I think you can say I don't think these allegations matter in the Trump era, right?
That too, yeah.
Like, here we are, like, we know what Trump did. You just mentioned that. Trump has been convicted of sexual assault in a civil court. A judge said, "I find you liable of sexual assault," in the E. Jean Carroll case. Then you defamed her.
And then he was found guilty of defaming.
Exactly. So there's all these things that, like, it doesn't even, like, it literally does not matter.
No.
What these people have done, it looks like, unless you're Matt Gaetz and it's underage and it involves drugs and something like that. Like, that's the bar.
That's the bar.
Is Matt Gaetz.
That's the thing. Like, all of these egregious things against Matt Gaetz, and he was going to go for it. I think the only reason he backed out of it is he learned he wasn't going to get the votes and didn't want to embarrass himself, and then he stepped right out of politics. So we're also in this weird sweet spot where Matt Gaetz currently, like, isn't in U.S. politics.
Yeah,
he will come back.
Awesome.
He will be back, but at least right now, there isn't any Matt Gaetz. But yeah, like, Hegseth?
Yeah. Marco Rubio kind of under the carpet. That might actually get Democratic votes. A couple of Democrats have already said.
He has wide support.
Pam Bondi was there. I think it was Kristi Noem who had it yesterday. I believe this is sort of the committee part, and then the actual, it goes to a full Senate, right?
Yeah, so this is just the hearing. We're not actually getting votes right now. Each Senate committee that they would oversee gets to ask some questions. Someone like Marco Rubio already sits on the Senate committee who's questioning him, which is why it bodes so well for him, whereas Pete Hegseth was asked, like, basic questions about what would be his job and couldn't answer them. That was Tammy Duckworthy, one of the senators. Great line of questioning. She asked him to simply name countries that were in a certain organization, and he couldn't.
Hey, Sean.
Yes. And then so from here, they can choose whether or not to advance the vote, and if they choose to advance the vote, then it goes to a full Senate vote.
We are 3 days away from January 20th, that, of course, being Inauguration Day in the States. I'm going to get some news about that in just a second, but can you believe we're here again? Like,
no.
Like, look back 8 years. Like, first of all, Trump being sworn in 8 years ago makes it like...
That messes me up real bad.
Like, that number right away, it's just like, oh, wow, 8 years ago. But it's going to be different this year. Are you ready for another Trump administration?
No. Okay. I think we talk about this every time. I try not to think too deeply about it.
It's about to happen. This is our last show under Biden. This is... whatever. I mean, I know it affects us, and we'll get into the trade war. There's premiers meetings. There's a liberal leadership going on. Like, we'll get to Canadian politics, but there's always something about Trump that you just can't take your eyes off.
There is, and I think for me, the big thing right now is somewhere like Greenland. That's what I can't take my eyes off of.
Yeah, not ruling out using force.
Oh, I know, not ruling out.
Or the Panama Canal.
I don't think he's going to, like, sweep into Canada with his military, but I do think we could maybe lose territory in the Arctic. That's sort of my thought here. He's going for Greenland, maybe take some of our Arctic, and then go, look at what a great deal I gave you. I didn't take over Canada. I just took a little bit of land from the Arctic. 4
years starting on Monday. Should be interesting. Big plans for the weekend.
I'm going to try a new restaurant in Dundas tonight. It's called Bohemian Beirut. It's Lebanese. It looks delicious.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, Emily Tayler, she's been producing Trending Now, and of course you can see her across CHCH on basically every show. That's what she does. She's just ready to step in on every single show. All right, wanted to get to this, mention the Trump inauguration. Well, President-elect Trump will take the oath of office from inside the Capitol Rotunda on Monday due to forecasts of intense cold weather. Now, the Republican president-elect says the weather forecast for Washington, D.C., with the wind chill factor, could take temperatures into severe record lows. Now, Trump says, meteorologists say this as well, there's an Arctic blast sweeping the country and he doesn't want to see people hurt. The Rotunda is prepared as an alternative for each inauguration in the event of inclement weather. The swearing-in was last moved indoors in 1985 when President Ronald Reagan began his second term. Monday's forecast calls for the lowest inauguration day temperatures since that day. And we should also get some pretty cold temperatures here as that blast of Arctic air hits us. But Shelley Marriage will probably have all that on the evening news tonight. All right. Now joining the show, our friend, Manesa Dhanabalan.
Our friend.
You're our friend, right? You're a friend of the show.
Yeah, just not a friend of yours.
That's how we're starting it today, everyone.
Happy New Year, Louie.
Happy New Year to us.
I'm going into 2025 with good thoughts.
Oh, clearly. Obviously, your positivity is through the roof. Big news out of the U.S. Supreme Court today. The story we've been following, there's been this deadline of January 19th was the deadline.
Yep, for TikTok.
For TikTok to be sold by ByteDance to an American company. It could still happen in the next 48 hours.
It could still happen, but at the same time, ByteDance has said that they don't want to sell. And even if they are going to sell, is China going to approve the sale? Because a big thing for ByteDance is their algorithm.
Yeah.
And that's something they don't want to give up. So it's like, what's going to happen? And the funny thing is, technically Sunday, if the ban goes through, like what really happened Sunday, because it's supposed to go through and like Biden's government has said that, oh, it's going to be Trump who's going to be kind of like taking that on and seeing Trump gets.
Who's going to enforce whatever the rule is.
Yeah. And he gets sworn in on Monday.
Yeah.
So like that whole 24-hour period of Sunday, it's like, what is happening?
What is happening? What is going to happen? You talked to Carmi Levy today,
Yes.
our wonderful tech expert.
Yes.
Wonderful tech expert. What did he say? What does he make of this?
So he was saying how like it's not going to be like a whole like red button issue, right? Like there's like a bunch of different things that can happen. So somebody could buy, and if that's
Mr.
the
Beast
case, there's
has said he wants to buy.
Elon Musk,
Kevin O'Leary, who I am pretty sick of Kevin O'Leary.
Why is that?
He's everywhere. He's everywhere. He's like Canada's spokesperson at this point. And at the end of the day, it's like, get out of here, bud. Like, you don't even live here. Like, maybe he does. I definitely know he's got a cottage somewhere because him and his wife were involved in a bit of an incident. But, why? You like Kevin O'Leary?
No, I just want to know why.
Okay.
No. I was just like,
I'm not trying to defend him or anything.
yeah, no, I'm just saying like I just want to know why.
He's just everywhere. He might buy it. So the ByteDance is saying they won't sell it.
They don't want to, but they're kind of like in a position where they kind of have to. And like then in the midst of all of this happening, Trump went on social media and Truth Social. And he said, like we have to honor the Supreme Court's decision, but he's like, I will have a decision on TikTok in the not too distant future. So, but he's always been against it, but now all of a sudden he's not against it. So.
Well, that's because people on it. Trump will listen to the last thing people say to him. So if someone says TikTok good, he'll be like, TikTok good. That's kind of how it works. So if Apple, will Apple and Google, will they take it off their stores? Is there any indication that it's not going to be made available to download? Is it not going to work? Like, how do we know what's going to happen? Or?
I did this interview about 2 hours ago, and I genuinely am blanking out, but there is an answer tonight on Trending Now at 7. I did ask that question of what's happening, so tune in.
Actually, if you're watching this on YouTube, just look for the clip on TikTok. Because, that'll be the big question is whether or not it'll stay on Google's Play Store or the Apple App Store.
So what they're saying right now is that there's just not, it's going to be there, but like newer people who want to go download the app, they're not going to be able to do it, and there's going to be no updates on it.
Okay, so they're not going to delete it from your phone.
Yeah, no.
But they won't push updates.
Yeah, it's not going to be like you open your phone and all of a sudden the spot where the TikTok was is not there anymore.
Just because you're working on 100 stories a day.
The app, sorry.
The app. I did want to touch real quick.
Wait, what were you going to say about 100 stories a day?
That's what you're working. You're working on 100 stories a day.
I thought you were going to diss me right now. Like I'm waiting for you to be mean to me.
Slip your mind as I put put you on the spot here because we don't these are my notes, people. Like these are my notes.
Actually, out of doing these podcasts all these weeks, I should really come in with some papers, but I always forget.
There's actually no real writing on these papers. It's just scribbles. They're like affirmations. I'm trying in 2025. Like you are strong. You are like that's all these things are.
Affirmations for you?
Yeah.
Oh, you must need those.
2025.
I'm sure nobody ever says anything.
That was such a sassy look. We should have gotten that on the one cam. We should have got that on the just the one shot of her.
No, you
gave like a little eyebrow
You are very
twitch.
talented.
No, you gave like an eye. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Did we get that on tape?
No,
okay.
you could delete that off. It's just.
Yeah, we got. Thanks. Random director in my ear. I did want to talk about the California wildfires.
Yes.
Obviously, the devastation has been incredible this week. Despite efforts, strong winds keep picking up. You've seen the viz, you've seen the pictures. This is one of the most devastating natural disasters in American history.
It's crazy because it's just, I mean, we all saw that video of like all the cars that were just getting bulldozed out of the way.
Yeah.
Because, people just had to literally just stop and just run. Yeah. It's really sad to kind of watch, and the fact that like even inmates were being paid and volunteered to go battle the fires as well. But it's also kind of like shining a lot of issues on what like their what's the best way to say it?
Basically their infrastructure and
their
all
operations.
The reports of running out of water.
Yeah, and their services, and like I correct me if I'm wrong. I heard something about them not having like enough. What is it? Fire crews?
I could believe it. I mean, there's so many fires coming from so many different directions, and it's this wind that keeps happening. I can't remember Santa Maria wind or whatever they call it. That kind of happens this time every year.
Yeah.
That's picking up into 70 kilometers, and like a wind will pick up one little amber of flame. Like you sit near a fire, you put like a newspaper on, like how that feeling of it picking up and hitting you. Like that gets pretty bad.
I'm gonna have to double check that fire cruise thing because I skimmed over that, so I don't know if that's
trending
true.
Now. All the clips are on YouTube.
Yep, everything's on YouTube.
Everything is on YouTube.
Yes.
You have no plans for the weekend.
No plans for the weekend.
And you are so excited about that.
Actually, I am gonna hang out with my friend, but that's more of like a relaxation day for us. So
okay, as opposed to like what, a hitting the town big party?
No, I just normally have to work on weekends too at my other job. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're getting the light here, so we're gonna have to let you go.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so. I think they were telling me.
Wait, what's your plans for the weekend?
So the Bills play on Sunday. There you go.
Oh.
I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm wearing this toque indoors like a bonehead. But the Bills play Sunday, so I'm going to be watching that.
Well, good luck.
And then tomorrow, thank you. And then tomorrow is going to be like an all-day sports day with my buddy. So we're going to start watching hockey at like noon, and then we're going to end with like UFC at like 2 a.m. Why are you looking behind you? Tessa's ready to go.
Looking.
Well, because I wanted to make sure Tessa's ready. All right. My thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan. Thanks so much for doing this.
I had to make sure no one's at the top.
Oh, look at that. You didn't even let us change the camera shot before you got out of the chair. Corsten's yelling at you. It's fine. All right. I wanted to get to this story. So unprofessional. I wanted to get to this story. The Premier's meeting, because we're finally getting some Canadian news here. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Wednesday met with premiers, and they mostly agree that all options are on the table to respond to Donald Trump's tariff threats to our goods. Now, following their meeting in Ottawa, Trudeau emerged to say they had a commitment to stand together on a united path forward. But Alberta Premier Danielle Smith quickly squashed that image, saying Alberta would not give support to the deal unless restrictions on energy exports to the U.S. are off the table. In the meantime, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford says he respects Premier Smith's concerns about Alberta's energy exports, but that Canada must come first. Trump has made repeated claims that his administration will introduce a sweeping 25% tariff on all Canadian goods unless Canada tightens border security. There's been a lot of Trudeau this week, whether it was at the Premier's meeting, whether it was him in Kingston yesterday, Windsor yesterday, wherever he was. Windsor, I want to say. I should know. But it's the other Liberals that are getting all the headlines. And to discuss that, we bring in Tessa. What's up?
Not much. Happy it's Friday.
Happy it's Friday. I know. You are a full-time reporter, of course.
Of course.
You've been doing this now a month?
2 whole weeks.
2 whole weeks?
Well, I say 2 weeks because it's only been 2 weeks of trending now every day.
Yeah.
I guess a month of actual full-time reporting.
How have you adjusted to full-time?
It's good. I mean, having a regular-ish, because I know the hours are not normal, but like Monday to Friday, life-changing.
You got a new car.
I did. Yes, thank you for bringing her up. Her name is Deb.
So you named it right away. You named her right away.
There was a sign. I had to because my license plate is Deb. So,
Well, don't give everyone your information. Well, let's not tell what kind of car, make, or model
Well,
it is
also,
now.
do you know how many other license plates have Deb on them?
I don't know. But you're loving it.
I am.
Okay.
It's very nice.
Congratulations on your new car purchase. I did want to get that just so people know a little bit about you, that you have a new car.
Yes.
But I did want to talk about the Liberal leadership race. Obviously, big day today. We just saw Mark Carney on our screen here making it official yesterday. Mark Carney running for the Liberal leadership. We kind of assumed he would, but big news making it official.
Yes, he launched his whole campaign yesterday in Edmonton, which is where he grew up. His dad also ran for the Liberal Party in Edmonton in the 80s, so he chose a significant place. And he'd kind of teased that he was going to be running on The Daily Show earlier this week with Jon Stewart, which... People kind of saw a different side of Mark Carney. It was kind of interesting. He had some good quip with Jon Stewart. People thought he was funny. And then yesterday he launched the full campaign. Obviously he has a background in finance, being an economist, the former Bank of Canada governor, Bank of England governor. So he really made it clear the economy is his number one priority, though he didn't get into too much detail yesterday.
You mentioned the Monday appearance on Jon Stewart.
Yes.
I did watch the full 20 minutes on Tuesday. It's a little too late for me to watch at night, but the Tuesday I watched the full interview. Like you said, he came off friendly. He came off like a sense of humor. Is it concerning that it was with an American TV program? Like, that's the other part of it, is that, like, within like a week you had two likely candidates who are going head to head. Mark Carney, maybe if he wins this, on a very friendly show in The Daily Show. You had Pierre Poilievre on a very friendly show with Jordan Peterson. Like, do you feel like this is going to be one of these elections where people just stick with, like, the people they like, and that's how they're going to get their message out?
I think they have to kind of branch out. I mean, politics has come to a point now where a lot of people that you have voting for you are not just going to already know who you are, especially in the case of Mark Carney. And, I think... especially with all the stuff coming in on Monday with Trump's inauguration, it is important to kind of get some American notability, just so that people are aware of who you are. And I think that was a huge criticism with the Trudeau government, is just that Trudeau didn't ever really make a stand against Trump until very recently. And so I think this branching out into American news outlets, Doug Ford has done it as well. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has done it. I think it's really just to kind of put the message out there that Canada is its own country, but, like, why don't you learn a little bit more about us?
Well, Danielle Smith's messaging has not been quite on point,
maybe
as we
shouldn't
heard
put them in the same category.
Yeah, but she has been there. Just like Kevin O'Leary, of course. Kevin O'Leary and Danielle Smith.
Can't
that was
forget.
this weekend, was it not?
Last weekend,
Yeah, last weekend. We had the story on
Mar-a-Lago,
Monday, right?
yeah.
And then today, basically the worst kept secret, since she resigned,
Yes.
Krista Freeland, not announcing, but sort of announcing.
Yes.
What's up with this? She changed her profile picture. Everything's different.
So on X this morning, she put out a little news release. It was very short and to the point. I think it just said, I'm running for Canada, or I'm running to fight for Canada. So she will fully announce her campaign on Sunday, but she did say today that she is running, which, as you mentioned, we all knew.
With a very timely op-ed in the Toronto Star today as well. Should be interesting. I know the early polling results have Carney slightly ahead right now, but it'll be kind of a race campaign. So for the government's prorogued until end of March.
Yes.
So nothing can really happen until then. What's the timeline on this? I know that there was deadlines put in place on when you can apply, $350,000 just throw your name in.
Which is a huge jump from the last time there was a race like this. It was $75,000 the last time the Liberal Party did this. But candidates have until next Thursday, January 23rd, to enter. I mean, at this point, it is looking like a Carney-Freeland race, but House Leader Karina Gould has, kind of hinted she might enter as well. So the 23rd is the deadline for that. And then by March 9th, the voting will be done and they will have a new leader.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting. I mean, Freeland, of course, is very tied to the current government, despite her resignation and a few attempts to kind of distance herself from that. I think people think of Freeland and they still think of her as Trudeau's right-hand woman, so to speak. So
Deputy PM for so long, too,
For so long, and a lot of the policies that the Trudeau government introduced came in with her kind of nurturing that as well. So especially like the carbon tax policy.
Which is why, exactly. So yesterday she comes out, or there were reports that she wants to axe the tax.
Yeah.
And just as recently as December, she was defending it. So have you worked a campaign before in a newsroom, like an election?
Well, the American election in November, but nothing Canadian. So this is fun.
Get ready for it. It should be a lot of fun. You got big plans for the weekend, Tessa?
I do.
Okay.
I was going to say, unfortunately, I do.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not that it's
Fun
unfortunate.
plans?
It's just busy. All fun things.
Okay.
I just
sound very excited about it.
I am excited.
Sure.
I love to have a weekend today where there's nothing on.
That's not
but
this weekend.
It's not that. That's not this weekend for me.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
All right. My thanks to Tessa Bennett for joining me today, and my thanks to you as well, because we could not do the show without your support. My thanks to the director today. It was Mike Courston. Mike Courston, thank you for directing today's show. And while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any other great shows. And while you're liking and subscribing, make sure you subscribe to our Trending Now channels, including on X and on YouTube, and then subscribe to our CHCH Podcast. There it is. If you're watching, scan the QR code or go to chch.com/podcast. Thank you, Mike, for directing today's episode. Really appreciate it. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.